in filmmaking, there's a way to approach each scene. Okay, I've always thought this in theater, why we would pay up, or we'd pay so much attention to every single line in the play. And every line has every line is motivated by something. Because if something is missed, then it doesn't carry over into the next scene properly. It becomes absent. It's not exactly the comparison of a J cut and an L cut, but filmmaking, or at least videography or filmmaking, is different. We're more in videography now. We're more in digital film now. Is different than watching a stage play. But you can have a light come up on the stage in another area of the stage, which is similar to an L cut, because you get the visual before the sound on an L cut. So the light would come up, and the light would already be gone down in the scene, but you could still hear the actors in the dark. But the light comes up on the other scene, and it makes you think that they're talking about that new scene. So everyone goes from there to looking over here. Well, what's going on over here? What's going on? I'm hearing it over here, because it carries through. It's like weaving, rather than just going. Instead, it's going where it's flowing to the next scene. If that makes any sense. If it makes any sense. But the reason why I'm talking about motivation and the characters and all that kind of stuff is because you have to explore all that, especially if you're dealing with a screenplay. You have to explore what everybody's doing in the scene, or what the actors are saying in the scene, why they are saying it, how they're saying it. You go over all the technical aspects of it. Then you start to see this can be on stage or film. Then you can see where the transition is. It's called a French beat. It goes back to stage. A French beat is one thing they call it. And the reason why you use an L cut or a J cut is not just for cinematic quality, okay, because it's cinematic. The reason why you do it is because there's a French scene. Now, French scene is kind of slang for what we call in America, or I don't know if we call it in America, but we call it in my directing class. When I was in college and I worked with Ken, who's a directing teacher, and we analyzed script, and I worked with Marjorie, who worked with Grotowski, who understood this stuff, scene change, or at least what's called a beat change. I know Joe Chaikin understood it. He worked with Sam Shepard, and a lot of directors understand what a beat change is. You think of jazz, and jazz music, you can hear something and then it takes you somewhere else. There's a change in the music. Compare it to music, because all of a sudden something changes. Now, it also happens in life, because not everything is always consistent. So all of a sudden, there's a change in something, right? For whatever reason. It can be movement, or it can be a sudden change, or maybe it's a slight change. So your L cut and your J cut is there because you're getting the attention of the audience for that reason. If you use it every single time, it loses the attention, because if you include something in consistency all the time, you don't notice a difference. It's kind of like also in memory. If you're memorizing something, and in your memory, you think of something odd, something that sticks out, it's not normal, you're more likely to probably remember it than if you compare it to something that's not odd. For example, if you're trying to remember a grocery list, the first thing you're trying to remember is eggs. You think of a room, and you think of eggs dripping off of the ceiling, right? So eggs falling off the ceiling, like dripping off the ceiling, like just kind of dripping, okay? Then the eggs drip onto, let's say you need to buy, I don't know, I'm trying to paste this all together. Let's say the next item that you want to buy, I don't know, beer, okay? So you have this guy drinking a beer and he's getting showered with eggs from the ceiling. So it's an active thing. So the eggs fall off the ceiling, they cover the guy like Carrie in Stephen King's Carrie, but it's eggs rather than blood, and he's got a beer and he's drinking it. You remember the beer, and it sprays all over the place. Well, what does the beer spray onto? Well, it sprays onto this mean-looking Italian guy that's suddenly working on something in the apartment, maybe a maintenance guy. And he basically is working on the wall, but you notice it's a banana that he has, and he's pushing it into the wall. So we know we're going to buy eggs because it's dripping from the ceiling. We know that the guy was drinking beer, and the beer sprayed onto the mean Italian guy that has a banana that he's working on the wall. Okay? And then he turns around and, why does it have to be an Italian guy? Probably because it's going to lead to pizza. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess, so he takes the banana and he, I don't know, he sets it down on a big piece of pizza that's, I don't know what the big piece of pizza is doing. So maybe the big piece of pizza is like I don't know, like let's say like if there's like a toolbox or something. Maybe inside the toolbox is a carton of milk, and then under it says Italian guy. That's pizza, so it's because it's an Italian guy. I'm picturing it like Mario Brothers. And so all these images kind of add up. So you have eggs falling down. I can remember this all in order now. It's going across the guy with the beer, so you get beer. Then it sprays on the wall where the Italian guy is, who has a banana that's going to be getting pizza pretty soon, but there's a toolbox with a carton of milk in it. I don't know. I'm seeing all these images because it's weird to see a carton of milk inside of a toolbox. That's what I'm trying to say. And so with the L cut and the J cut, something odd's going on because you're looking at the image that doesn't match. So it helps you transition because it gets your attention. It sticks out. Kind of like if you're trying to remember a grocery list and you use that memory device, okay? You don't have to use the memory device in filmmaking. You don't have to use it on stage. You don't have to use it for anything. It just would help me remember things when I would take tests. It was a way of remembering something quick. And I did this all for a long time. Now, Uta Hagen talks about it too. I'm going on for a long time, but Uta Hagen talks about with the inner objects. Because she felt that when you were in the play, you were inserting these inner objects to help do something to you and to connect you in the play in an eternal way. So that you're not just standing and saying a line. So as you went through rehearsals, you found some type of image that you could keep inside you on stage. It's more of a stage thing. You can do it in film, but you have the image that at this moment in the play. It helps you with blocking, helps you with a lot of things. And you could change the image or you can tweak the image so it's more fresh. What I did when I played Stanley, because I won an award for that, Stanley Kowalski, is I had a moment in the play when I would think about my uncle, one of my uncles, when I was talking about the beer bottle and when he breaks his teeth off on opening the beer bottle. Stanley Kowalski talks about, I had this cousin once, he broke his teeth off on on a beer bottle, and he was talking, because I had him talking this yet like almost Yat accent to lower the intelligence of everything, so he doesn't talk like a normal person really, he kind of talked kind of a little annoying or something, it's like this Yat thing. I didn't do it exactly that way, but that's how I started it. So I eventually got used to it, doing it over and over and over, just like smoking a cigarette over and over and over again. All of a sudden, you don't even think about it as you do it. I did it in the cafeteria. I talked to my friends that way. I did it to the point where I talked that way normally. However I talked, it was kind of like an annoying kind of thing because Stanley was annoying at times and angry. So the reason I'm saying this is because when it only took me off my mind of the dialogue, or not just the dialogue, but off the accent and everything else. But it took me kind of out of the rehearsal stage of it, and it brought me in to an object, because I was thinking about my uncle, who is kind of an oddball at that moment, because Stanley was thinking of an oddball kind of guy. Whenever someone's talking to you and they're like, so he broke his teeth off with a beer bottle, the guy was a loser. That's how Stanley was. He thought of other people as losers, people that were beneath him. He was like a king of the jungle kind of guy. No one was better than him. So I did it. I didn't do it on every single scene because I think that probably would have drove me crazy. But there were moments when I could step on this side of the stage, and instead of focusing on the other actor, instead of focusing on the lights, or instead of focusing on the table, I stopped and I thought of him for a moment. Forgive me. I don't think you have to be in the moment all the time if that's happening, because I was thinking about him. So it draws attention to me because I thought it was important to show that Stanley thought of people lower than him, that he was better, when really he wasn't. He was kind of a mean person. So that's what inner objects can do, because they spark something in you that connects with the script that's personal. It's your own object that you take with you. And you can weave that throughout the play step by step. Maybe a little bit like an L cut, a J cut, because you're going to see that actor do that all of a sudden. And it's good because the actor's not going to be posing, and the actor is not going to just be saying lines, because he's going to be connected to that inner object, not the lines. That's what Stella was probably talking about, how it's not about words, Stella Adler. So that's important. And you have to exercise that throughout the rehearsals. It takes a lot of time to weave and to sew all these little French moments too. I'm trying to think of another time when I was doing Stanley that I did another inner object. Stuff just right from Uta Hagen. I know that there was probably another moment. I do this thing where I'm thinking I twirl my hair. But I don't Stanley. I did have a problem a little bit of the whole stopping and posing, because I was still new. Stop and pose and then wait and then say the line, but not all the time. There were a few other times. I just remember specifically that moment. And I think it was good that I chose specific moments rather than do it on every single line, because then you're not really in the play at all, because you also have to listen to what the other person's saying, and then somehow, even though they're saying it, somehow hear it for the first time and let that affect you. That can be that the other actor is also working with you too, and you are working together like in a tennis match, or maybe the ball's hit this way and something else happens, and then you didn't expect that the actor was going to do it that way, and then you're like, oh, that threw me off. Meisner taught that, where you could do you didn't focus on line readings, but instead you were basically kind of working with the other actor by listening and speaking in the moment, so that it carried it through the play and stuff like that. So I think that when I think of L cuts and J cuts, I think of that too with filmmaking. If I can remember, there was another time when I had like another inner object where I thought about something or someone Sometimes I would make them up when I'm out there too. That's exciting, and that's what Peter Brook would talk about the theater. He talked about theater as like the present moment. There was rough theater. There was immediate theater. It was happening like in you. So you were coming up with the inner object at that moment, and that's real good because you're gonna get that. So you're in there, and all of a sudden you go, okay, wait a minute, you know, and then they're gonna see that you're thinking of something, right? And they're like, oh no, he's not in the play right there. What's he doing? Well, a lot of people would say that there was a bubble around me or a time, and then he'd come out of the bubble, and people make fun of it. Oh, his method. He's not really there. He's not in. But then you get back into the present moment. So you're out of it for a minute because something else went on, and then you're back in it again. You know, because not everybody's always just like that kind of thing. You know. Anyway, I was just thinking about L cuts and J cuts and thinking like, I wonder if that's connected in the way the stage is. Because sometimes when I think of film and media, I think, well, where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from the theater, and it's coming from maybe conversations, or because the theater was here first for many years, like thousands of years, way before film. So we're coming up with this L cut, J cut stuff, or whatever, because theater has been here for so long. And now we know what a play is like, and we see it kind of represent itself in this weird box on the wall, or on this, projection screen on the wall, or whatever it is that you have set up in your home or whatever. And it represents kind of what we used to do when we go out on stage in front of people and do all this stuff. Anyway, I was thinking of that. And anyway, I'll talk about inner objects another time.